on the big screen here. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Radio Dead Air Tech Q&A. You've got questions, we've got guesses. I'm Nash. I've been doing Radio Dead Air for ages. But in addition to all that, I'm also an IT professional. With me, as always, my producer. This way, actually. He's over here. Yeah, my producer this way. That way. He's now Mike Gearman. Also works in IT. If you've got tech questions for us, please, by all means, fire those off to requests at radiodeadair.com, and we will try to answer those for you. How you doing, Mike?
Not too bad. Not too bad. We are our massive seat refresh at work. It's supposed to finish up this month, just in time for us to convert every machine to Windows 11.
Oh boy, that's going to be fun.
Well, it is 80% user-based. So the user gets told, go through this checklist. If you make it to the bottom of the checklist, you can convert now. You don't have to, but you can. But you will convert by the end of September. Because everything that made you fall out of the checklist before the bottom is supposed to be done by then.
Yeah, it's not going to be. Well, this went around Blue Sky. I got this from one of the fellows over at Aftermath, and I reshared it, and
the whole Coke versus Pepsi thing.
No, he doesn't. No. What? No. So this was on LinkedIn, which LinkedIn right now is a bit of a hell of generative AI. Because the folks on LinkedIn are just they are executive brained, and they do not understand just how revolted the rest of the world are. And this popped up from as a job listing from Microsoft, who just laid off 9,000 people. Remember. Mm-hmm. And this is from Mike Matzel, who is the principal development lead for Xbox graphics. Now, that's not Xbox drawing and whatnot. That means their graphics devices, their GPUs, their drivers, the stuff for the actual Xbox console, such as it is.
Yeah. The thing that makes the games display on the screen nicely.
Yeah. I want to see if you can figure out what's wrong with this picture. He used this very clearly AI generated graphic.
Yes, he apparently found a graphic that has the magic Star Trek screen that you can see through.
It's not see through, Mike. It's not.
Or it got the screen backwards because it didn't know any better.
Yes, it got the screen back. Do you know how I can tell it's not see through? All right. When you're coding, right, mm-hmm. There's a line on the left-hand side of the screen.
Yeah, and everything is tabbed and indented off of that. Yeah.
Yeah, and it indents to the right. Code indents. Typically when you're typing code indents to the right. So what the AI did was, because AI is not AI. It doesn't understand what it's drawing. It's just mishmashing, pattern recognition. It is essentially the most glorified autocorrect. It doesn't understand what a screen is. It doesn't understand what a screen is used for, or that people need to look at the screen. So it put the screen.
It's just been given a bunch of graphics and said, this is a screen. This is also a screen. This is also a screen. This is also a screen.
Yeah, and by the way, the AI isn't like, oh, I can tell this is a screen. No. It gets fed a bunch of images that are tagged by human beings that says this picture has a screen or a little description, and that tag goes into its autocorrect mishmash. So it doesn't understand. It puts it into a pile. And it knows what's in that pile based on the tag. So, yeah, and just the fact that the principal development lead put this out without any sense of self-awareness is that's the entirety. And they just laid off 9,000 people, but they're like, don't worry, we've got AI. And this is the kind of shit AI churns out. It's garbage. Like people were pointing out that if he had just taken maybe 5 minutes in GIMP, he wouldn't even need had to pay for it. Just 5 minutes in a program like GIMP or Paint.net, he could have just colored the back of that screen a solid color and no one would have noticed. Well, they would have noticed it was AI, but they wouldn't have noticed it was garbage. Well, no, they would have noticed garbage, but they wouldn't know it was stupid garbage. So, speaking of stupid AI garbage, this is irritating as fuck. So, Google has their own.
That's descriptive of everything AI.
Yeah, Google has their own homebrew generative AI system called Gemini, and they have pushed it to replace the previously used Google Assistant as the voice AI or the voice assistant on their Pixel devices and other Google devices. Now, if it's not installed in your phone already, and usually it would come with a Pixel phone, but it's going to roll out to others as well. If it's not already installed on your phone, you're fine. Don't install it.
Yes, it is actually an optional install. It is actually an optional install because right after this story came out, my phone said, hey, you've got 27 app updates. And I looked at them. One of them was Gemini. And I said, uninstall. And it said, are you sure? And it didn't say, are you sure you wish to uninstall this mandatory phone app? It said, okay, uninstall.
Yeah, but we'll get
that doesn't mean it's all gone. It just means that the front end interfaces and everything are gone.
Well, it comes out that Android you have to take action to stop Gemini from accessing other applications it has no business messing with, like your voice calls, your notifications, and they will store that data for up to 72 hours, and Google will have access to that data, as in human people will have access to that data. So it's, and I love how they frame it. It's like, we've made it easier for Gemini to interact with your device. No. You've made it easier for Gemini to do things it's not supposed to do.
And by the way, I got to say, I was wrong. Gemini is on that phone. I just checked. It was some other AI related app that I took off.
Yeah. Getting Gemini off of there, you can sort of uninstall it if you have installed it, but you also may need to this is such bullshit. This is shit we used to have to do when, like, I talked a little while back about how there used to be a NASCAR app that was installed on my Sprint phone. This is the kind of crap. This is the shit we have to do to get rid of one of those old apps from like 15 years ago. You have to install the Android Debug Bridge. This is a bit of software that you put on a Windows, Linux, or Mac system that allows you to use command line commands on your Android phone over a USB connection. That way you can, like, for example, you can tell it, look, I am telling you with root access to uninstall this particular application. I don't want any part of it left on this system. Something you can't do from the phone itself. You have to use the Android Debug Bridge, but it's called ADB, by the way, if you didn't know it. The command, if you're interested in getting this crap off your system, is right here. I'll try and make it bigger on the screen. First, yeah, and you will have to look up how to install the ADB. It's not hard. It's free. You can get it you just look up Android Debug Bridge or ADB. Once you've installed it, you can access it from Command Prompt or PowerShell or Terminal, depending on which operating system you're using. And the command is ADB space shell space PM space uninstall space com.google.android.apps.bard that should remove Gemini from your system unless Google decides they want to be even more intrusive. People were pointing out, a long while back, I'm talking remember in the late 90s when the commercial internet first hit. Do you remember all the steps that everybody's workplace took to keep you from using the internet at work?
Sort of. I was working for an insurance outsourcing company at the time, and they weren't very good about it.
They weren't good about it, but they tried.
Yeah, they tried.
They didn't change the AI was originally called Bard. They didn't change the name of it. It's still called Bard. Yeah, they did not try very hard to but they tried all sorts of means. They blocked like Facebook and all this other stuff. It was like, we don't want you using this. And then when the iPhone came out, again, the iPhone came out, businesses lost their fucking mind and they did everything they could to stop their employees from using their smartphones at work, right? Everything they could. That's a sign of a tech.
We briefly had a policy for about a month that you couldn't bring cell phones into any of the buildings, not just spaces that were specifically mandated, absolutely no portable electronic devices, but none of the buildings. Do you want to know what changed that?
What?
Shooting at another site, and no one could call and tell anyone that they were safe. Suddenly it's like, oh yeah, that's a bad idea.
The mark of a good technology is one that a widely adopted one that has staying power, in my experience, is one that your boss does not want you to have access to while you're working. That is one that has integrated itself into society, and it's one that's people are using at all times. It's one people like and they are enjoying and they are embracing. Conversely, a technology that is, they have to try and sneak up on you, and they have to try and install it when you're not paying attention, and you get mandated from above at work that you have to use it. That is not one that is going to be embraced. That is one they are trying to fight against the tide to get people to take up. And it was NFTs. It was the metaverse. It was the blockchain. Now it's freaking AI. It's the same crap.
The thing is, once this bubble bursts, there are going to be so many abandonware apps. Normally you go, abandonware, I can't play my game anymore because the server is gone. Now it's going to be, these AI apps aren't here anymore because the servers aren't paid for. We'll be going like, my phone's strangely more responsive now too. Funny that.
Well, speaking of also of AI and Microsoft, we mentioned this earlier. Microsoft has directly laid off 9,000 people from Xbox. However, that is, and this has been for a few weeks ago, that was the direct layoff. What people have started to report is also the indirect layoffs. Microsoft will contract studio closures. Yeah, Microsoft also contracts outside studios they don't even own to do work. And if that work is canceled, then those outside studios will lay off people. And that's not Microsoft directly laying off people. That is Microsoft's ripple effects moving out from the layoff. And we can't really count how many that's going to be, but it's not an insignificant number.
Now, one of the things I remember when Microsoft was buying all these game companies so that they could, have exclusives that people wanted to play for the Xbox, as opposed to just exclusives, they bought Activision Blizzard, and one of their promises was, we're not going to have layoffs related to this purchase. We're not going to, fire a bunch of people because we brought Blizzard and bought Blizzard and brought them in-house. And now they're laying off 9,000 people. And I'm like,
every time there's a merger, they make promises to the U.S. government. And the reason they make those promises is because the U.S. government never enforces them. The penalty for breaking those assurances you give the government when you perform a merger is you potentially could lose the merger. They could force your companies to unwind. And we do not enforce antitrust. We have the laws, we have the ability to do it, and we won't. It's blatantly corrupt, and I cannot stand it. But yeah, a lot of the reason they bought those studios was the notion they had a few years back of the Netflix for games. Remember when that phrase was bandying around the industry for a while? Netflix of games. That was supposed to be game. What was it called? The game. Xbox has a game service. What is someone in the channel? What's the damn game service called? I can't. It's just blanking on it. But
Game Pass.
Game Pass, yeah, the Xbox Game Pass and the Windows Game, yeah, that was supposed to be their Netflix for games, and they brought on a bunch of other studios. They were gonna be like, and now they have this weird idea of Xbox everywhere. So it's like you have your Xbox console, right? But you also have your phone and your PC and your other portable. And like, if I have all those, they're not an Xbox. What's even the point of the Xbox? You're not focusing on the damn console anymore. Pretty much under Phil Spencer, and the fish rots from the head. From under Phil Spencer, Xbox is going at 17 directions at the same time. Chicken with a head cut off does not know what they're doing. And on top of that, Microsoft still not turning a profit from the OpenAI integration or from their own AI stuff.
No, they probably never will.
They never will, but they're still going to dump money in it. They're going to still completely dump money in it.
I think it's safe to say that Ed Zitron, in his critique of AI, is going to make more profit out of AI than AI will.
Oh, yeah.
Speaking of Ed, I actually went out and I purchased a membership to his site. I decided on reading his free stuff that his paid stuff was worth it. I just wanted to give that little bit of shout out to him.
Yeah, well, people are actually making a profit on AI. It's just the companies aren't making a profit on AI. They're making a profit on AI by speculating on the bubble, which is very profitable. If you bet on Nvidia to skyrocket because of the bubble, you've probably made a tidy profit off of that.
Yeah.
But in terms of actually, the product as designed, taking in money from customers to use the product, being a profitable enterprise, that not so much, which is we've incentivized entirely the wrong crap. In general, what we're doing here is it feels like Microsoft and these employees were sacrificed for Microsoft's other ambitions. 9,000 is not a small number. But even in addition to that, Xbox feels kind of largely rudderless right now. They are definitely behind the PlayStation, which is still, they're not doing great. And both of them, in terms of mind share and the public, are behind the Nintendo Switch 2, which is a bizarre thing to say. That Xbox and PlayStation, well, no, you know what? When the Wii came out, The Wii was kind of kicking Xbox and PlayStation's butt too, simply because it was the more affordable option. It had the games people wanted, understood how to do exclusives, and this is not a good sign for Xbox or the longevity of Xbox. In fact, also when they had their own portable they were going to be making, and they scrapped it and just put the brand on an Asus portable, which is not going to be an Xbox. It's going to be a Windows PC skinned like an Xbox. So that's going to be its own entire thing. This is just so frustrating. And they will not get rid of Phil Spencer. He's the problem. If he's been there for over a decade, and ever since the Xbox One, he has been flailing around, fucking up. Like, do you remember Baldur's Gate 3 could have been an Xbox exclusive, but they fucked that up too.
And it could have been, but it would not have done as well.
But it might. It could have been a game that would have. It would have done pretty well. It could have been a game that would have sold Xboxes. That would have been, because Baldur's Gate 3 is it's one of the best games of all time. I feel pretty safe saying that. The replayability, the branching, it's an amazing game, and they dropped the ball on that completely. Well, speaking of Windows and Microsoft, this I'm eyeing warily. I'm eyeing it with a little bit of maybe this is good. We'll see. There's a new feature that's going to potentially be added to Windows that's going to be called what is it? What's the exact title? The Quick Machine Recovery. Now, you already have a recovery option on. Sometimes Windows will fuck up and you can't boot your system. It will lock stuff out and it won't work. And then that's when you get
you'll have rollback features. You can see rollback to the last good save, restore point. If Microsoft hasn't turned off your restore points, which has happened to me on multiple occasions, thank you, Microsoft. And this they're rolling this out because
normally what happens is you'll get a screen that looks like this. It says advanced options and blah, 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 install, update, system restore, all that shit. Quick Machine Recovery is going to go a little bit above and beyond. And what this will do is this will troubleshoot Microsoft via a network connection. So instead of just being built-in fixes for issues, what it will do is it will go out on the internet and look up existing. Like, for example, this what's prompting this is their Cloudflare screw up.
Which, if you don't remember Cloudflare, where were you? This is the one that the most obvious effect of was taking down most airlines.
Yeah.
Where the computers went into a boot cycle that couldn't be fixed except by going to each machine individually.
Right.
If then.
CrowdStrike. Thank you, MG Jordan. CrowdStrike, not Cloudflare. Cloudflare is different.
Yes.
CrowdStrike, not Cloudflare. There. Thank you. Yes.
And so what this thing is going to do is say, I'm in a reboot cycle. Here's my codes. Microsoft, what do I do? Now, the first guy who does this in a future one, it'll come back and go, I can't do anything yet, but it'll alert someone at Microsoft going, oh shit, something's happening. And then they'll put out a fix. And so then it'll reboot again and it'll go, I go, hey, Microsoft, what's going on? What's the fix? And it'll go, here's your fix. Push this to the machine.
Yeah.
Done. Now, hopefully, they're doing this with security first in mind, because this could be a very, very effective way to push malware to every machine.
True. But I'm less worried about that. But it's the idea that it's like we couldn't repair your device automatically at this time, but you can keep your system turned on, and as the situation updates, Microsoft may provide a fix that works, or as Drake Mayers is saying, they may push a fix that bricks it worse. regardless, this could be a way. This is definitely Microsoft trying to mitigate that issue from ever popping up again. Whether it works or not, we'll see. I will have to say that there.
I would add, it's Microsoft trying to avoid being the one on the hook for billions of dollars in financial losses from lawsuits over something like CrowdStrike.
I will, however, say the existing startup recovery that already exists within Windows 11, Windows 10. We've had this since Windows 8, actually, because that's what this screen is from, is Windows 8, is where it originated. The existing one does not work very well.
It's okay if you're someone like me who can then go, okay, I've gotten to a command prompt. I now can get to the rest of the stuff I need to do. Yeah, but this is not for every user.
The automatic one, I have not yet. I've had a couple, like, for example, I've had the boot table. There's a boot partition. Not that, well, there's like the EFI. That's it. The EFI petition, not the actual partition with data on it, but the EFI record. I've lost that once, and you can fix that. There are command prompts for fixing that, but the automatic system had no idea how to do it, and it tried to do stuff and it didn't work, and it tried to do stuff and it got in a loop and it couldn't freak it out. I've never had an instance where that startup recovery has actually fixed anything. If they make that better, that would be awesome. That would be less tech support people that have to be driven up a freaking wall by some basic stuff. Will it? We'll have to wait and see. At least the idea is there. I do want to note, however, they have added, in addition to this, they're going to be pushing out something called semantic search, which, while they don't really say it out loud, what semantic search is AI. It's going to be an AI search.
That sounds AI BS again.
Yeah, they're going to be putting that, and it's going to be only for Copilot Plus PCs, which that's AI shit. And
and I'll be honest with you, Windows search is pretty garbage most of the time.
Yes. Oh yes.
So, while I am generally not in favor of AI stuff, this could only be an improvement.
No,
in that regard.
No.
By definition, can't be worse unless it sets your computer on fire, Nash.
Yes, it can be worse. Windows search needs to be reworked. The search function itself. What Microsoft is doing is going, our search function sucks. We're going to slap this other thing on top of it that will maybe be able to play better with it, but it's still an underlying going to be the same shitty search function. It's just now it's going to have an AI layer on top that could potentially make things much, much worse. So, yeah, they can, in fact, make what you're supposed to do is do it over. Instead of throwing billions of dollars at something that is a bubble, you throw millions of dollars to a team to code a new one.
That'd be nice, but they're not going to do that.
Which they haven't done in 20 years. You are still essentially using the same Windows search that you've been using since Windows frickin' Vista. Code a new one. Ugh. Anyway, just, anyway, let's get to your question, shall we? Let's get to, a little grumpy, little fucking grumpy. Let's get to your questions, shall we? If you have tech questions, you can go ahead and send those to request@radio.air.com. We'll help you out with them. Let's see what we have so far this week. Okay, this is from Juliet. Hello, Nash and Mike. Our big dumb Labrador was doing zoomies and she slammed her big dumb butt into my computer desk and my desktop fell over on its side. I grabbed it before it fell off the desk, but it still landed really hard and it was turned on at the time. I haven't noticed anything strange since, but I'm still worried something might have been damaged. How do I give it a once over? Thank you both, Juliet.
Okay, so the first thing I would say is if you haven't noticed anything bad yet, that tells me nothing got unseated. Because if memory had somehow gotten unseated or a card had gotten unseated, you'd have noticed.
Maybe.
But if you're concerned, you can check to see how secure the cards, the memory, etc. are. Make sure nothing's come loose. Check any screws that need to be tightened. The CPU fan, etc. I'm not thinking you have much to worry about. And the reason I say that, when your desktop's on a desk, it's like this. The motherboard is vertical and the cards are horizontal. And when it falls over, the cards are now not having the stress on them of that. Yes, they can get dislodged, but nothing probably broke off, is where I'm going.
Well, Mike, there is one major freaking issue. If she still has a physical hard drive.
True, physical hard drive, but I think
you need to at least run a scan disk on it.
True. Based on my experience of shock and vibe stuff at work, I mean, it takes relatively little shock or vibe for many hard drives to go south on you.
So you need to run if you have a physical hard drive, not just an SSD, you need to run scan disk on that.
Yeah. Okay, concur.
Let's see how to run scan disk. In case you're not aware, is a built-in utility. Check disk. Sorry, I call it scan disk because that's from decades ago. It's check disk is what's on current Windows. What you want to do is you want to open a command prompt, like you want to go to admin command prompt. Yeah, you're going to open your start button. You're going to go into the search, type command prompt, and make sure you spell it right. CMD. Then right click on the icon and choose run as administrator. And then you'll run a command prompt like that. The command you're looking for is it's okay. Here, let's put it over here on the screen so I can highlight it and you can read it. It's a very simple one. It's just you have to know the letters. Let's make it all big over here so you can read it.
Check disk is CHKDSK. For some reason, they didn't like vowels.
Yeah, no vowels. Vowels are not allowed. The command is very simple. CHKDSK/F. Is that backslash? Or I forget which one is backslash and which one is slash.
Slash is the guitarist for Guns N' Roses.
Okay, so it's backslash. You can see it's on the screen. Look at the screen. That's the screen. That's the one. That's the one you want to run. And this is if you have a physical hard drive and not just an SSD. You don't want to run it on an SSD. Make sure you're also going to have to go and choose like D:\enter or whichever letter that drive is to switch to it and then run the check disk. So that's kind of important too. And that
you can run check disk. You can run check disk on an SSD. It's not horrible. It's just not something you often need to do. Yeah.
That will determine if there's been any easily detectable damage. That is a quick and simple way to find out. You really should go through and open up the side panel, every possible device in there that's plugged into anything else, cards plugged into the board, RAM plugged into the board, plugs plugged into things like with wires behind them, power plugs. Make sure everything is still seated properly. Make sure nothing has been jarred loose. Otherwise, if you haven't noticed any weirdness, you might just have gotten lucky. Nothing might be damaged. Nothing might be dislodged. You might be in good shape. It's never a guarantee if one of these things takes a hit that it's gonna be busted. Like the very fact that we've moved from hard drives to SSDs has removed so many points of failure on these systems. It's crazy. Like magnetic failure, That used to be a constant one. We talked about this like last week. You mentioned this.
Last week, me with the magnetic bracelet. Again, I don't believe in healing power of magnets. I just thought the bracelet looked cool. Pass it over to a specific spot on a computer, and it goes, why did that reboot? Bring it back up. They rebooted again. Oh, you stupid.
Yeah. Magnetic failure used to be kind of a big issue. Like we used to, your computer speakers used to have to be specially shielded, not just to protect the hard drives, but also protect your screen, because CRT screens were vulnerable to magnets as well. It could.
Yeah. So, and of course, shock and vibe, as I mentioned, I had an offsite team that I worked with, and one year, the city decided they were going to add a water treatment facility right behind their site, which involved driving massive pilings into the ground because sandy soil, and they wanted to be able to dig a hole without the hole collapsing on them. We lost like 9 hard drives from a server over a space of weeks.
Yeah.
Shock and vibe.
Yeah, so it's just by getting rid of old spinning rust hard drives, it's made a huge difference in longevity and preventing damage to devices that would have been just catastrophic before. Now, it's not like you should drop these devices, but if you do, it's not the end of the world that it used to be. Because usually you dropped your laptop, oh, fuck. Now it's like, you might have smashed some stuff, but your data's still probably there. So, you missed the old defrag window. Yeah, I missed the DOS defrag.
Unless you physically smash your SSD, you can generally recover stuff from it.
All right, next one is from Jeff in Oregon. Hey guys, do you have any advice on when it's time to replace your monitor? I've been using mine for about 10 years now, at least. It's an Acer V226 HQL, and there's nothing explicitly wrong with it. It's just old. It runs fine, doesn't give me any problems, but I was curious to know when it's time to upgrade. And let's have a look at it over here on the big screen. This is it's a
21 and a half inch marketed as a 22. 1920 by 1080 monitor.
Yeah.
I'm about 90% certain I've got a couple dozen of these at work.
I mean, and if you look at the tech specs on it, it reads as HDMI and VGA, which is oof. I mean, it's not like the end of the world having VGA, but it's definitely obsolete. Can do 55 hertz, 75 hertz. So highest refresh rates is 75 frames. So the highest it can do gaming wise, 75 frames per second. Let's see what type. It doesn't say what type of screen is it. 1080p, which is WLED. Well, that doesn't say if it's in plane IPS or
that's what I'm trying to find. No one seems to.
Yeah,
I mean, even Acer's site doesn't say.
Like the nice thing about just mentioned CRT monitors. CRT monitors. That's it. Yeah. TN is the other one. It's IPS and TN. Those are the ones back then. IPS was the superior one. With LED monitors, they don't have the kind of failure that CRTs did. When CRTs started going, they would go because they were vacuum tubes. That's the cathode ray tube is a vacuum tube. And it also had great giant big capacitors in there. The regular LEDs do have capacitors that can fail. I've had that happen before, but not like old CRTs. On the other hand, there are some CRTs that just run forever.
Yeah. And of course, the most annoying thing about CRTs was removing and disposing of them because they're heavy.
Oh, God.
I'm just glad I have carts that have wheels on them that, when I was removing and disposing of CRTs, like, okay, load the car. Okay, the wheels are bowing a little bit. Let's time to take this down to the bin.
I had a 20-inch CRT.
Proper disposal bin. I did not throw them in the trash. Thank you very much.
I had a 20-inch. Was it 20 or 24-inch? It was a big old honking CRT back in the day. It was the biggest one I could get. and the entire table shook when I put it on there. It was gigungous, massive beast, so heavy you could kill someone by dropping it on them from one or two stories.
Didn't John Cusack do that to? Oh, who was the other actor? He was in Ghostbusters.
Aykroyd?
Aykroyd in Grosse Point Blank.
Grosse Point Blank, yeah. Well, anyway, the point I'm making here with LEDs, LED screens, and LCDs, they have proven a lot more resiliency. In fact, once you got to 1080p, we hit 1080p and we didn't budge for a long time. A lot of systems are still coming out right now with 1080p. 720p died pretty quickly. That went out of fashion almost immediately. I think it hung on there for maybe 5 years. But we've had 1080p for at least 15, if not longer. Yeah. And they still make those brand new. So you get into this point where a screen like this, 75 hertz, not the fastest polling rate, and it's a little small, but you get to a point with these upgrades where an upgrade is a matter of, is your device still doing what you need and want it to do?
Yeah.
If you for when I upgraded my monitors, I had two 1440p monitors and I kept them for the better part of a decade. And I moved to these two giant, these are 32-inch 4K, not 32, 28-inch, no, the 32-inch. These are big 4K monitors. I got two of them. And they're 144 hertz, 4K, IPS with mini LED behind them. They're from a company called Innocent, which is they're a company that makes screens for other companies under different brand names, and I got them under their own brand. Anyway, I got them fairly cheap. I got them refurbished. I got them on a Black Friday sale. And the reason why I did was I needed more space on my desktop from all the streaming stuff. I needed to have more ability to do things. I wanted more gaming ability. I wanted to go to 4K gaming because I had a graphics card that could take advantage of it. If you're feeling like fenced in by your hardware and it can't do what you want it to do, that's when you should think about upgrading. Not automatically do it, but you should think about it. If this monitor still works just fine and you have no reason to upgrade it, it sounds like the fact you're asking me is you want to. In which case,
I'm going to interject something here.
Uh-huh.
I think it's a perfectly good monitor to keep, but maybe as a second monitor.
Oh, yeah, so if you just as a second monitor.
Yeah, if you want to upgrade and you go, maybe I don't have the desk space for it, turn it into portrait mode and have your main monitor be landscape mode, side monitor, portrait mode. Great for, I've got the primary stuff here. Oh, I'm playing a game. Oh, I need to check the guide on this game. Bring up the web page on the secondary monitor. It's nice and big. You can find what you're looking for. It's fantastic. The complaint I have with monitors replacement, I'm going to just seg into something here, is work related. I hate doing it at work. And the reason I hate doing it at work is not carrying them around and setting them up. It's because when one person gets an upgrade, suddenly everyone around them has to have an upgrade. One person got a 26-inch monitor. Oh no. Oh no, that's bad. 27-inch monitor, sorry. Person an aisle over, they got to now have a 27-inch monitor. Another person's got to have two 27-inch monitors because they're important.
Yeah. All right. If you are seeking out a new monitor, mini LED is a way to keep costs down. Also has less burn-in risk if you're going to be using multiple use of the monitor. If you're going to be browsing and word processing and other applications and video editing and stuff, you don't want an OLED yet. They're still iffy and they still have some burn-in issues. You don't want those for a mixed-use monitor. If it's exclusively gaming, OLED makes a little more sense. It's still more expensive. Mini LED is a way of using the IPS that we've been using in plane switching monitors we've been using for a long time, but you could also get the same kind of rich black and backlighting that you can kind of get from OLED. It's a compromise between the two, and it's cheaper too. So that's one thing to look at to keep costs down. It's all about what you're going to be using the monitor for. So mixed use, you want mini LED, gaming and entertainment exclusive like movies and stuff. Think about OLED, see what the prices are. If you shouldn't get anything less than 2K resolution at this point, it's kind of silly not to. 4K is nice if you want, but don't getting a 1080, going from 1080p to 1080p is just sort of a lateral move. Refresh rate should not be any less than 120 hertz. That should be the basic bare minimum refresh rate you get at this point, because you're coming from a 75. Anything else, again, lateral. So, oh yeah, Butterball's pointing out thrift stores have cheap TVs monitors. If you just want something larger and you want to keep costs down, you can get like a $20, $30 monitor from I've got it like a $20 monitor from, I got one for diagnostic stuff from like Goodwill a while back. They work just fine. If they're working, they're working. So
yeah, I've had to drop those off of Goodwill, not from work, from other things. And the thing that got me, and I didn't expect this, they make you sign paperwork when you drop off monitors. Saying who you are. Saying who you are. Because it is a very common thing for thieves to go, I've stolen this stuff from this house. Oh, I don't need the monitor. Let me turn the monitor into Goodwill.
And I'm
like, oh, okay. I understand.
Dumping evidence.
Mr. Thief, I understand, Mr. Thief. Why'd you take the monitor to begin with if you knew you were going to take it to Goodwill? Just leave it. Your victim is having a bad enough day already. Let him keep the monitor.
All right, last one. This is from Andy in Michigan. Hi, Nash and Mike and Floofs. I followed Der Bauer on YouTube, and he keeps getting RTX cards with the 12-volt high power connector that are burned and damaged. Just to sum this up, in case you haven't been following along. Yeah, the NVIDIA connector, it's typically considered the NVIDIA power connector for the late 30 series, 40 series, and 50 series graphics cards, the 12-volt high power or 12 by 2 by 6, whatever they're calling the damn thing now, has been on the higher power cards like the 5080 and 5090 and the 4090 and even not really the 3090, but on the higher power cards, it's been shown to have causing melting at the power connector because they're not properly balancing the amperage across the wires, which causes some of the wires to overheat, which causes fire. Der Bauer is one of the people behind Thermal Grizzly. It's a cooling technology company. They started with Thermal Grizzly paste. They started adding other stuff as well, like water cooling accessories and delidding stuff for like high-end overclocking. And they added a device they called the Wire View. I got one of these myself. It's in this story as well. This thing is the Wire View. It is a adapter that you put between your power supply and your graphics card. It plugs into both. And it will keep track of the voltage that's being drawn, the wattage that's being drawn, all of the things that are happening on your graphics card. And in addition to that, I like the connector on it better because it's a little hard to see. I'm trying to get it in a position where I can show you. Instead of all of these being individual wires, they're a bar connection. One side of it is ground, one side of it is voltage, and it's a solid bar of wire, which is less likely to heat up. However, you can still get at the little pins itself, you can still potentially have issues. And he wrote, one just came in that was using the wire view connector. And I know you mentioned use the wire view as well. Is there any good way to use these connectors? I'm torn between the RTX 50 series card and AMD, but the connector could be the deciding factor. I don't want to waste money on a card that's going to melt. Thanks in advance, Andy in Michigan. Okay, well, it depends. And the main thing it depends on.
Honestly, my first response would be go with the AMD card, but that's me.
Well, I mean, the biggest problem with this connector is that it's being used on badly designed cards at pushing its specified rate, which is the top wattage for this thing is supposed to be 600 watts. You're not supposed to exceed that. That's the total wattage that can go through. And I think the amperage is something like 9 amps at most across 7 to 9 on the individual wires. Shouldn't hold more than that. The problem is the graphics cards are designed badly and the load gets imbalanced. So you'll have one wire drawing 4 amps and one wire drawing 12 amps. And when you exceed the amperage rating of a wire, when you exceed it, the wire starts heating up. And if it heats up too much, fire. Even the wire view, the problem that I saw the same video too, Der Bauer is he's a really good YouTuber. You should follow him. A lot of interesting stuff. The problem he noted is that while the bar connector they have is good at preventing that load imbalance issue, at least on the wire view itself, the individual pins on the connector are still individual pins on the connector. And that's where the melting happened on this particular card. If you're getting, say, an RTX 5070 or even a 5070 Ti or Ti Super, I think they're doing a Super, or 5070 Ti, anything below a 5070 Ti, you are well within the rating of the connector, and you should not deal with melting. The problem is the 5080 and the 5090 really push that rating to its limits. Let me see what the 5070 Ti wattage is. I think it is 300 watts. Power consumption or TDP. TDP, yes, TDP. It 300. Is 300 watts, right? So you're well under the 600 watt upper rating limit for that cable.
The only way it should melt at that point is if it is something is criminally defective and it's pulling all the current on just 1 or 2 pins, which
would be really weird. I've got an RTX 4080, which has an upper TDP of 320 watts. That's well below the 600 watt rating. The biggest problem is, and this is the irony here, is the cards that are the most expensive, that should have the most protections and be built the best, are the ones the most susceptible to this because they are drawing the highest amount of current. And that's your 4090, your 5090, your 50, even the 5080. What's the 5080 TDP? Because I know that's getting kind of up there. Its minimum is 360, so it's about 400. It'd be rare for a 5080 to do it as well, unless you had some issues there. Variances in pin mating pressure, pin and socket crimps. Yeah, neon void cable. It's a bad connector is the main issue. It should not have been used for this purpose. It doesn't connect well. It doesn't connect right. It has an abundance of failures, and NVIDIA has decided to stick with it no matter what, and it's so dumb. But if you're
and the reason NVIDIA decided to stick with it is because they want to have that throne of having the best graphics card out there, the most frames per second, the most everything. And instead of redesigning and respecing everything and saying, hey, we need to come up with some better stuff here, they said, we're going to just push more power.
if you're getting something a 5070 Ti or below, this connector is not going to be a problem for you. It shouldn't. I say shouldn't.
As long as it's connected properly, which was the problem with the early versions of this connector.
You have to make sure it's seated firmly all the way down. In fact, if you might want to get one of those cables that has the different coloring on the end. In fact, I'll show you. They have a new version of the WireView coming out. WireView, which I'm thinking about getting myself, but it's going to be really expensive. It's going to be a ways before I do it. WireView Pro 2, which is really crazy, honestly. I'll show you a picture of it here. This sucker is great. I love it. In addition to having the colored pin connectors so you can tell when it's fully seated, it also has an emergency shutoff where if it starts heating up, you can set it up to shut your entire computer off if there's potentially an overheating issue. It has a cooling fan. It has temperature monitors. It's got external connectors for external monitorization and everything. It's just wacky. It's not available yet, but it's probably not going to be cheap. I'm looking at it and going, that'd be fun. But what I have right now, I'm not concerned about. It hasn't had any issues. As a connector, it works just fine. It sounds to me like if you're considering AMD right now, you're definitely not considering a card with the kind of TDP that would be an issue here. You're not considering a $2,000 or $1,500 graphics card. You're looking at the 700 and under, which are well under the power range. Like if you're looking at a 9070 XT, if you're looking at a 9060, if you're looking at a 5070 or a 5060 or 5060 Ti or something like that, well within spec of the connector. It's not a great connector. You have to make sure you plug it in properly, which is dumb. The PCIe connector were just fine. But if you get a graphics card on the lower end of things, you should be fine. It's only, I really just, the contempt NVIDIA has shown their most hardcore enthusiast audience, the people who would be willing to buy a $2,000 graphics card. The contempt they've shown them by sticking them with this connector that overheats and melts and destroys a $2,000, $3,000 technically, because you can't buy it for $2,000 like hell. The very fact they sell these is just abominable. The way they regard their customer base and just throw this garbage on it. It is a garbage connector, and they still are holding on to it for dear life. It irritates me beyond words. And you're asking, well, you bought an RTX card, didn't you, Nash? Yes, I bought a used one, which means NVIDIA didn't get a dime out of me. I got a used RTX 4080.
For professional reasons. So,
yep. Yeah, I got it because it had double AVI encoders and double encoders that's why I got it. In addition to, I wanted, an upgrade, and I also wanted more video RAM and for editing purposes on because I use Adobe, I know. But I know I'm trying to work out DaVinci. I got a lot of this shit going on, okay? Regardless,
I'm playing with DaVinci. I'm just gonna say.
Regardless, the 4080, getting that used, NVIDIA, I always recommend getting used stuff like this because NVIDIA doesn't get a fucking dime out of you. It's a secondhand purchase. Only the person who sold it to you gets any money. And I picked up, at the point when the 4080 was $1,200, I picked up one for $800 because this was just when the 4080 Super came out and they were selling for $1,000. I picked this one up for $800, and that was about the price of a 4070 at the time. So, and it's held up great. I've been super happy with it ever since. But anyway, don't worry about the connector unless you're spending the kind of money for that kind of voltage. Anything 300, 320 watts below, you're well within spec of the intended specification of the connector, which. The connector is specified for up to 600 watts. you should not run 600 watts through it. That up to part is the high limit. You shouldn't run it at its limit on a regular basis. That's how specifications work. You'd think engineers would freaking know this. Makes me angry. Anyway, all right. That's going to do it for this week. If you have tech questions for me and Mike, you can send them to us at request@radio.air.com. We'll be back here next week, Saturday at 9 p.m. Eastern. In the meanwhile, for Mike and myself, we'll see you next time. Good night, everybody.